Okay, students, so let's start with part 2. Matilde and her husband left at about 4 o'clock in the morning. Now, 4 o'clock in the morning, the party got over and they left at 4 o'clock in the morning. When they were finally in the street, they could not find a cab. Now they had to return home and they needed a a taxi, but they could not find. They walked down towards the Seine. Now Seine is a river in France. So they walked towards the Seine till they found one. Means a little distance they went further and they found one cab. They were dropped off at their door in the Rue de Matis. Now this was the place where they were staying. Now see, it's a French word, and sadly it was all over for her. All over means the happiness, the joy, the triumph, the success, everything finished. That was the end for Matilde. Yes, she was feeling very, very, very sad that such a happy evening came to an end. In front of the mirror, she took a final look at herself in all her glory. In all her glory means in all her beauty, because she was still dressed up. And she told, let me take a final look at myself, because see, the dress was hers, but the necklace belonged to her friend, and she wanted that she should look at herself in the mirror, and she wanted to give a final last look. But suddenly she uttered a cry. Uttered means gave out. She shouted loudly a cry. She no longer had the necklace round her neck. Now, why did Matilde utter a cry? Because she no longer had the necklace round her neck. What is the matter? Asked her husband. And her husband, who was a bit little in other room, came running, asked her, what happened? What is the matter? Why did you give out such a loud cry? She turned towards him, panic stricken. Panic means entirely frightened. Her face turned pale. She was entirely frightened. I no longer have Madame Forrester's necklace. And this is how she spoke. She could not even speak properly. How did she tell it? I no longer have Madame Forrester's necklace. He stood up distraught. Now, distraught means entirely disturbed, worried, because such an expensive necklace, what would have happened? They had to return. When you borrow anything, you have to return it. What? How? That's impossible. How can it be? How can you lose? That's impossible. Okay. Now this is the end of part 1. Okay. Now we will continue with part 2. Then the exercises, we will do it all together. And there is not much of exercises, activities. Now part 2, page 22. They looked in the folds of her dress. I told you, she had a very big voluminous dress. Voluminous means very huge, with lot of frills and lot of flares and all that. So they looked in the folds of her dress, in the folds of her cloak. Cloak means because it was cold, she had taken like a coat type. A long coat is called a cloak. In her pockets, everywhere. But they could not find it. They thought the necklace might have come out and just hung somewhere in her clothes. Are you sure you still had it on when you left the hall? He asked. He asked her, are you sure? Did you have it on? The necklace, did you have it when you left the hall? Yes, I touched it in the hall at the monastery. This was Matilde's reply. But if you had lost it in the street, we would have heard it fall, because it was very, very silent, and that is why Loisel thought that if ever it would fall in the street, they could have heard it, at least a sound, a little sound. It must be in the cab. Now he's just estimating that it must be fallen in the cab. Yes, that's probably it. And that is possible. It must be in the cab. Did you take his number? Now Matilda is asking Loisel, did you take the cabman's number? No. They stared at each other. Now they just looked at each other, staring. Why? Because they were both shocked, stunned. Stunned means shocked. At last, Loisel put his clothes on again. Now he had removed all his suit and all his party clothes. Again he put them on. I'm going back, he said. Over the whole route. Route means way. He walked and see if I can find it. Yes, he told, over the whole route we walked. I will go and go back the same way we came, so that in a hope of finding it. He left. She remained in her ball dress. Now ball dress means in a dance dress. What do you mean by a ball dress? Her dancing dress. All night. Her mind blank. She could not think of anything. It was entirely blank for her. Her husband returned at about 7 o'clock. He had found nothing. Now imagine 4 o'clock they had just come back. No sleep. Husband went back, returned 7 o'clock, but he did not find the necklace. He went to the police, to the newspapers, to offer a reward. He even put an advertisement in the newspaper. Lost and found property. It comes now in the classified. So he even offered a reward that whoever finds it will get a reward. To the cab companies, just to find out the cabman and the cab. He would search it in the cab. Everywhere, the tiniest glimmer of hope led him. Tiniest, the smallest glimmer of hope, Asha ki kiran, ki that necklace will be found. He went there, and he even went back the same route searching. She waited all day in despair, disappointment at this frightful disaster. Now this was a very frightful crisis, disaster, crisis. Loisel returned in the evening, a hollow means entirely pale, entirely empty. He was very, very disappointed. Pale figure, pale means ekdam, he's pura hosh hawa kho gaya tha. He had found nothing. You must write to your friend, he said, because that necklace belonged to whom? Madame Forestier. So what did Loisel suggest to Matilde? You must write to your friend. He said, tell her you have broken the clasp of the necklace. Clasp, the hook of the necklace. Tell you have broken it and you have given it for repair. And that you are having it mended. Mended means repaired. It will give us time to look some more, and maybe even the cab companies will give us a link like, come on, there it is found, or someone who has found it will return it. So it will give us time, but till then you have to tell your friend that I've broken the clasp of the necklace and that is why I've given it for repairs. She wrote as he dictated. Yes, now she wrote as he was telling her. See, he is a clerk at the education ministry, so he knew very well how to write a letter. Yes, at the end of 1 week, they had lost all hope, and Loisel, who suddenly looked aged, declared, we must consider how to replace the jewel. Yes, now at the end of 1 week, they did not find the necklace. Yes, they had searched everywhere, contacted the cab companies, gone to the police, offered the reward, everything, but nothing, no result. And that is why, what did he tell? That now we must think of, consider means think of, How to replace the jewel? Now we have to give back the jewel. Okay students, we'll continue now in the next lecture. Okay, part 3.